Hello, peoples. It's time. This is Tempest Tenebrarum, home of all things World of Darkness. We are here every other Tuesday, mostly, sitting around this bullshitting about our favorite role-playing games. I'm your host, Peter, and as always, let me introduce you to my co-host, Brother Eric.
Heidi ho! What's up, hey?
Joining us tonight is one of the main authors for the new Kiasyd book, Brother Ian.
Brother Ian here. Howdy, Brother Peter, Brother Eric.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So, what we're doing tonight, of course, we're talking the Kiasyd. We're describing what a Fey vampire is like. I mean, I know it's a strange concept for a lot of us to wrap our head around, but a Fey vampire is not as far gone as you would think. But the little bit of wraith mixed in, that's what makes it fun for me. That's what I'm doing. So I'm going to throw this over to my co-host for the first question of the night, as usual. And Brother Eric, take it.
Yo, man. All right, man. So I guess I'm gonna change things up just a tad because it's kind of hard to kind of find one question. Um, but go ahead, Ian, since it's just you tonight, which is let's just start with what's up with the Kiasyd? What's their deal? Do they actually come out of the library?
Yeah, I think that's probably the best question that it could start with is, are they librarians or are they not? And the question, of course, the classic, game master, storyteller caveat, it's your game, do whatever you want, yada, yada, yada. But what I tried to do with the clan book Kiasyd is show that, like every other vampire clan or bloodline, they're really not supposed to be typecasted and stereotyped, right? I mean, that's just not how we're supposed to play this game. Not every Bruja is an anarch. Not every Nosferatu is a spy.
Not every Tremere is a mage?
No. Every Tremere might have some knowledge of thaumaturgy or whatever. But yeah, I mean, not every Tremere is a sneaky piece of shit,
Not every Bruja is a complete...
you had to go there, didn't you?
No, I had the Tremere hating, but I actually love the Tremere for what it's worth, but I think they're poorly done. I have to talk about that another day, but I think it's an amazing clan with a lot of potential, and there's actually a big influence. You'll see a lot of Clan Tremere, if you will, in Clan Book Kiasyd. I'll get to that in a minute.
I've read,
but,
dude.
Yeah, right. But excuse me. But I think the real main thing to take home from Clan Book Kiasyd is that no, they are not just librarians. In my opinion, if I were to say, like obviously we can stereotype all the clans, right? We know that a lot of Brujas are anarchs and a lot of Nosferatus are spies and such and such. So does that mean that most Kiasyd are librarians? And I would say no, that's also not the case. And for this very specific reason that I think they do spend a lot of time in their library. I think they are very research focused, and they do have the grand symposium where they meet up, and it's like a college seminar sort of thing. But I think that they have to all, in order to present, at the symposium and gain status in their community, and really also to grow their library, they have to go out and, let's just call it what we know from D&D, they have to go out adventuring. They have to go out there like motherfucking undead Indiana Jones and get some shit. And that's really the way that I see them, as undead Indiana Jones.
Okay, yeah, that was just a...
Dude, I dig that. I'm sorry, that was awesome.
No, the laugh was a bit goofy. Go ahead,
yeah.
man, go ahead.
That was great. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm glad you like it. Because I say there's a...
I think it's great. I was like, as soon as you said that, I see some black-eyed fool just standing there with a bag of sand in one hand, looking at that idol.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah. And really, that's it. Like when you really get into the role playing of it, a lot of these kind of another caveat. Not every Vampire the Masquerade game has magic items. Okay. But let's be really frank, if you
Listen,
read the novels,
hold up.
or if you ever played any of the early games, like look at the game supplements like from first edition, they're jam-packed with, let's just call it magical items, enchanted items, whatever you
Okay,
might want to
let's
draw
stop it
over
right
those
there for
dragons.
just a second, please. What I'm asking, here's the issue. And I've been doing this since day one of the show. Was enchanted items, magic items. Most vampire storytellers would rather you believe that they don't fucking exist
Right,
because it throws the game out of balance. And I'm like,
right.
no. I said, it doesn't if you use them correctly. And they're like, well, show me one decent vampire magical item that wouldn't throw the game out of balance. I said, the ivory bow.
No, Aaron's feeding razor.
Oh, Aaron's feeding race. Even better.
Yeah,
Even
it's like
fucking better.
Or bloodstones. Like bloodstones
yeah,
are the functional
Yes!
equivalent of blood bags. Like how many times have people had a refrigerator full of blood bags? I mean, come on, it's what's the fucking difference here? But I think the point that most people are making with that is not about one individual item breaking the game so much as they kind of borrow from Dungeons and Dragons that some people's Dungeons and Dragons that magic items are fucking everywhere and you can pretty much just go to the store and buy them. And
No.
that I think that's the problem that people have is they import a lot of these prejudices that you should be able to go buy potions of healing at the fucking supermarket.
If you walk
And
away with the magic item, you better fucking count yourself lucky that
dude,
you
I used to
didn't
play
die.
games where you automatically had a bag of holding, you know. Anyway, but let's get back to
Yeah,
the
no,
vamp.
let's get back to the
So
Kiasyd.
the point that I'm trying to make with that excursion is that Kiasyd, I believe, straddle a line between two different types of Vampire the Masquerade games that exist, and I actually don't know which one is more common because I don't think anyone really knows. But some games have magic items, and some games don't. And I think that you don't have to have magic items for Kiasyd, but if you're willing to take the step to say, okay, well, there's magic items in my vampire game, dude, Kiasyd. There's how you find them. Here's how
Yeah,
here's the
exactly.
gatekeepers of the information, especially when you're in sort of a Renaissance era or somewhere before photography, when people were extremely superstitious. Uh, the Kiasyd, I think, can play a crucial role that are generally filled by Tremere kind of people, maybe Cincy, Zemis, however you want to pronounce it,
yeah,
and
CMJ.
big one.
Skamase. Yeah, I usually call them Zemis, but at any
Yeah, I
rate,
know.
so.
Zemisi was the
See,
original until I actually had a Romanian friend and I handed him I was like, pronounce this. And he's like,
You know, it's funny. I
Simishe.
don't know. I want to get to the point where we can all just say the different thing. I'll say Zamis and you can say Shamus. We don't stop
the
and
way I, the way I
out.
honestly look at it is that I'm changing form so many times. I don't think I really give a shit.
You're right
Right.
at
Yeah,
this
the
point.
name changes with the form. So, anyway, the point that I was trying to get at is that I think that Clan Book Kiasyd, not only are they not librarians, they're more like, Indiana Jones kind of people. And in that way, I think they open the door to a, let's call it more taboo type of playing with White Wolf where you have magic items. And I think that is not an essential part of the Kiasyd, whatever clan book. I was going to say canon, I had to stop myself. But I think that it's a really unexplored part of the game that I tried very hard to bake in here.
Well, it was one of the first attempts I've seen between, to drive a wedge between the La Sombra and the Simiche. About how this particular bloodline could be more powerful than either.
Well, that's an interesting point. So I think that takes us to is what I did with the discipline, Myth Syria. So I don't know if you guys had a chance to get to the discipline chapter, but it's really, really
No, I
well.
haven't, and I apologize for that.
No, no, no. Well, if
I
you have it
missed it.
in front of you, I would go ahead and take a look, so maybe you can
So, give
follow
us the
along or
page.
whatever.
You got a page
Oh
for
yeah,
us?
no problem. Yeah, it starts on page 29 and it goes for about 50 pages. So there's like this
Oh,
huge
wow.
section of the book, about half of the book focuses on disciplines. And might say, Ian, why on earth are you doing that? And I'm glad you asked. So if you remember the early version of Myth or Syria from the Storyteller's Handbook
Boy,
to the
the
Sabbat,
upscale version of that
Yep.
just scares the
Yep.
shit out of
great
me.
book, great art, amazing concept. It introduced the Lasombra and the Zmis and the Aranes, which was a sort of a feral gangrel bloodline, and of course
Yes, I
the
know about the orange.
yeah, they're really random, and they have like a really cool power called Spiritus that I'm going to explore in my upcoming Vampire the Wild West game. But more about that another time. So
Yeah, right?
what? Yeah. So what happened is they introduced Myth or Syria, and it was this totally cool discipline, but it was very disjointed. Like the early, uh, like the first dot or whatever, it like the early levels, they did really kind of interesting stuff. Like you could do magical pranks. You could just really do a lot of really interesting stuff. Like you could look at the auras, kind of like it was just anyway. I'm rambling. It was very disjointed. It didn't really make any
Dude,
sense. It
we've
was
got
like,
2 hours to cover. Keep going.
oh yeah, right. I'll talk a little bit more slowly, but no, it was like I couldn't figure out what is the ethos of this discipline. You know what I'm saying? Like it was like just fairy stuff. It was like, okay, well, I'm going to tell you a riddle, and okay, I'm going to, like look at things and gain information from them. It was very, and then in the higher levels, it was like I'm going to turn the walls into swords, and do some other
Oh,
just
yeah,
totally awkward stuff. That
the
was
sword of stone.
yeah. I mean, well, so level 3 in the original Kiasyd discipline was called Goblinism, and
Yeah,
it was the
goblinism. I said
yeah,
that just like I started giggling. I'm
right, and
sorry,
it was like
goblins. You know.
this ability was totally cool, but it's just totally didn't make any sense with this other like Goblinism was the level 3 ability and allowed you to travel through stone or like shape stone, so that it was kind of like giving you the impression that these guys lived underground in these really fancy ornate sort of layers. Okay, that's
Mm-hmm.
sort of the
The
subtext of
ability to
giving them.
tunnel through solid rock was one of my
Yeah,
fun
right. Yeah,
favorites.
and supposedly right maybe live down there. Right, that'd be pretty. So that was kind of the subtext I feel like of that power. That they had something to do with the earth. They lived in the ground. They had some affinity to stone. Stuff like that. But then the first ability was like very auspexy, and the later abilities were like number 5. The 5th level is the most famous one. It's called Riddle Fantastique. It's where you tell somebody a riddle and they have to sit there and think about it until they solve it. Obviously by making rolls, and in obvious cases they can starve to death and stuff like that.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, so it was a really totally fairy oriented kind of stuff, sort of fae influenced because of their origin, which I guess we'll talk about in a minute. But the
Yes, we will get to that in just a
yeah,
second.
get to the history
Because
of
I
them, I
can't.
suppose,
You want
later.
to talk
But
about shit I can't pronounce?
no, I know it's going to be fun. So, anyway, what I'm getting at is I couldn't really deal with the fact that the discipline sort of jumped around from, I don't know, earth magic to like trickery, illusionary stuff. And all right, so then it was just like I felt like the discipline had to be split. So I split the discipline into 2 different paths, very
Yes,
much how thaumaturgy is put together. And the first path I called it the Darkling path, and Darkling is a like a name, a nickname for the Kiasyd, the Sobriquet, whatever Sobriquet, and it's just very Sealy magic, very dark,
yes.
fey kind of stuff, Darkling trickery, aura absorption. There's this one that I really like. It's called a Changeling Ward. You can put a symbol on something and it makes people like stupefied if they see it. Just very linear, all the stuff is very similar, in my opinion, was very fey magic-y kind of stuff. And I was able to that way also preserve the fact that so the early version of Myth or Syria is different from the later versions of Myth or Syria that are presented in V20.
Yeah, it's a change between full obtenebration to, some straight up, I'm gonna steal your mind shit.
Yeah, well, I think it's very much the same sort of disjointed feel, but it's more fairy magic, more Darkling
Very
Path.
fey. Yeah, very
Very, yeah.
fey.
And so I was able to preserve, like, there was a lot of material. There was stuff like the one that's called the Grandest Trick, where you can actually, the level 8 power, and you can literally walk out in the sunshine as immortal. You turn yourself into
Yeah, I
immortal.
saw that one. I was like
It's
that, but
fucking
how many
badass.
fucking dots is that, dude?
8. You have to be 5th
Yeah,
generation,
I
and
know, right? I'm
it's
like, holy
mythos.
crap, dude.
There's I mean, there's only so many Kiasyd, so it's difficult to even get your hands on. And then there's only one guy that even knows that
For
particular
sure,
discipline,
yeah.
right? But at any rate, so I was able to preserve this entire, 8-dot discipline path as Fey magic, and I really encourage people to take a look at that. I even included a few alternate levels just because there's just so much there, to do with Fey magic, and I imported a few things from that I felt were interesting from other games.
That's what I
Um,
found the most interesting in what I was able to read.
yeah,
Is
like I
yeah, the combination of discipline and fake magic, and I'm like, holy crap, this is so devastating if you use it in
yeah
the right way.
I don't think it's well. So one of the ones that I think is the coolest that I stumbled on actually like the idea behind this level was so there's a lot of people that loved Kiasyd, but before me there was a few Kiasyd websites like angelfire.org, way back in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
day, and
Why do they still have fucking?
yeah, so there's some mirrors that are still up if you want to really look for them.
Oh, geez,
Uh,
Angel Fire though, dude.
yeah, bringing you back, huh?
Oh my God, I don't need to feel that fucking old.
Oh, geez, I
Thank
know.
you.
I'm Angel Fire old,
No,
so
yeah, and so am I, but that's beside the point. I don't usually admit it.
I'm 35 this year. But like one of the cool things that I stumbled across, I felt like it wasn't put together properly, so I rewrote it for the book. Was the idea that maybe these things can actually absorb energy from the land itself, right?
Yeah,
And just sit there in their little mountain place and
fortress,
just fortress, yeah,
solitude,
and just
whatever.
research forever. And I kind of felt like I pulled that in a little bit of my own information there, because I put in this mechanic about how many blood points you can pull from the land, and I felt like that really gave them a new feel. Like it wasn't just me saying, okay, there has to be a half vampire, half fairy thing, and I'm just gonna make it exist.
Okay,
I felt like
but here's what I want to talk about. Let's dial it back to the
sure,
Sherman set the Wayback Machine, the Mighty Boosh. Where did that fucking and what I read about it was, there might be more of his blood running around out there.
right, so you did read it. Okay, so
Yes,
we'll
I did.
we'll start
No,
from the
no,
beginning.
I did. I did read that. I'm like,
Yeah.
so what's up with the Mighty Boosh?
Oh, I love it. Yeah. Well, so um, what? Let's start from the beginning, right? So the idea: who are the Kiasyd, right? The Kiasyd are well known for having fairy blood. We call them Fey blood.
Fey
Um,
blood,
it's
which will
not just
usually
because of
turn a
their discipline.
vampire insane.
What's that?
Fey blood. Okay, Guru blood makes a vampire go frenzy. Fey blood makes them insane.
Yeah, I think that's first edition stuff, and I'm not sure that it ever
Yeah,
preserved.
later on, it just became that werewolf blood kind of made y'all pissed.
Yeah, made him frenzy.
Yeah, I think it
Uh,
was you had to
and then the Kiasyd blood would give you hallucinations.
Okay,
something.
hallucinations, yeah, but I'm talking about Fey blood. If
Yeah,
you
Fey
came
blood. I'm
across
sorry.
Fey
Did I say
blood,
Kiasyd?
it would
My
make
bad.
you crazy.
No, you just hallucinate for quite a long time.
That's just Kiasyd blood.
No,
True
no, no,
Fey
no, no.
blood.
I'm talking about Fey blood.
Okay.
Change whatever. Yeah,
I
let's
just
let's
said.
go ahead
I
and
said.
find the I'd like to see the mechanics for that because I didn't find it.
Hang on.
Give me 2 seconds.
Yeah, good. Now go ahead,
But
dude. Go, Ian.
Go on.
Go,
Sorry.
Ian.
no
Go,
worries.
Ian.
So So starting over, the idea behind the Kiasyd is that they, back in the Dark Ages, were there was a guy named Marconius, and he was a wizard, and he was shaman, necromancer. There's lots of terms that get thrown around for him.
What is the shaman of the please
What's
pronounce
that?
that for me, please.
Oh yeah, the Alemanni tribe is where he's from. Like specifically, well, the story is in later on that he lives in Strasbourg. So I made it
Very
so
close
that
to where he was embraced.
right is that he's from that area, and the Strasbourg area was pagan until the fourth or fifth century, when Caesar Julius started
Julius
Romanizing.
the antipostate, and I know that, brother.
He was an asshole,
Yeah,
and
he
so
was.
historically he moved in, and there was something, it was called the Battle of Strasbourg, and they wiped out the local Alemanni tribe and Christianized the place, and it's been Strasbourg or whatever ever since. And so I made it that Marconius was a shaman in the Alemanni tribe, and so it was his tribe that was wiped out, and so that's sort of why he's always been around the Strasbourg area, because that's this indigenous homeland. And right, yeah, before it was Strasbourg, of course. But then the story, well, I'll tell you, the original origin story was that he was fed the blood of a of a Jesus, Ian, underworld god. And that was kind of weird, because at the time, like when it was printed in 1996 or whatever, that didn't make any sense in the canon. Like, what is an underworld god? Like, it doesn't.
That was
We don't.
that was the part of Wraith I was mentioning earlier.
Right, and I think that's how it was interpreted later on. But I don't think Wraith was even around at the time. I think they were just starting.
What year?
90. I think it was. Well, I think it was 93 when that book came out.
Hold on, I'm pulling it up now. Keep going.
No problem. So,
Keep going.
yeah. So, right. So he was a shaman in this Teutonic tribe called the Alemanni, and originally the origin story was that he was embraced with the blood of an underworld god called Ziernabach.
The Mighty Boosh.
What's that?
The Mighty Boosh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because it has two O's in it. Yeah. So some people might call it Ziernabuk.
No, seriously, dude. Unless you've seen the show, it's yeah. There was a show on the what is it? Adult Swim on Cartoon Network. It's called the Mighty Boosh. And as soon as I saw his name, I was like, that's the Mighty Boosh.
I'm going to interrupt for a second just to say this one thing. Ahead. Fuck White Wolf's Index. Continue.
No shit, dude. Okay.
So, at any rate, so the original origin story was that he was embraced with, he was embraced and given some blood of this underworld god, and that somehow an underworld god connected him to fairies. It was never really explained. And so I tried to sew it all together, basically. And I won't spoil everything.
You did a really good job from what I've read, anyway.
I appreciate that. Yeah, but so I tried really hard to make sure that it was not only the same original, okay, so that was the original origin story. And then it sort of changed later on when Dawkins took over the IP, right? It was originally written by a guy named Stephen C. Brown. And then when they reintroduced the Kiasyd in V20, it was done by Matthew Dawkins. And he reworked it quite a bit. And it was more like Kiasyd is what happens when you embrace a changeling.
So, yeah, but I thought you could. It was Mages were like the only ones you could actually pull off that. If you bit the
Nah.
changeling and tried to embrace it, it would kill him.
Yeah.
It's the same
So
as with the lupine.
yeah, there's the Magar and the Kiasyd, right? And
Yeah.
they've kind of blurred the lines, in my opinion, between the two. So they kind of come as a package. And I
Oh.
like there was Magar before, supposedly in the V20 canon, which is real canon, I suppose. Barf. Um,
1994 was the first edition for Mage,
yeah,
for Wraith.
for Wraith, and then when was Handbook to the Sabbat put out? I think right about
Give me
the
a
same
second.
time. But yeah, at any rate, so it changed, right? It was there Kiasyd was like the name for a Magar, and then Marconius was embraced, and then he became a Kiasyd, and then hunted down all the Magar. It just became this weird sort of interplay between the changeling community, if you will, and and the Kiasyd. In my opinion, I think they can be basically separate, where the first vampire of the Kiasyd bloodline, Marconius, was embraced with the blood of this underworld god, which is, in some way connected through the black paths of Valar to the deep dreaming, and that's all explained in there. How I think that this was actually well, I'll just give it away. He was a true Fae, and the true Fae are a little different than the changeling.
Different is not the word.
Yeah, they're totally different. And so he's a very old true Fae, and that's really where the power comes from, because the true Fae from Dark Ages Fae, they have these things called oaths, and he's Zirnabok is fulfilling an oath
Is it
to these
like a
people.
boon but different?
Yeah, it's very different. You have to read Dark Ages Fae to really get that. But it's sort of like the source of their power. Like, you believe in these fairies and you give them offerings, and that sort of like gives them their power. And they fulfill these oaths in order to have access to
All right, Changeling,
their
Storyteller's Handbook of the Spot hit in 1993, the year before.
right. So there you go. So that's definitely how it feels too. Is that they were trying to link the Kiasyn with, in my opinion, they didn't really know which one, but they're trying to link them sort of like both to Wraith and to Changeling, and it went very much towards Changeling as V20 came around. But at any rate, so I tried to preserve the original origin story and still make it make sense, because I think that was kind of the problem with it in the beginning. Is okay, so what the hell is an underworld god? How does that have anything to do with Fey blood? Well, you kind of need Dark Ages Fae and Black Paths of Valar to like sort of fill it all in and explain how that could even be possible. And now that we have all that canon, I was able to backfill it. So, personally, I don't really like the V20 interpretation where they are
Basically, not a
bloodthirster.
shitty job in general from what I've read. You've done a really good job with this, and
I
I'm very
appreciate that
impressed.
very much.
Do you know what the only problem I have is?
Tell me.
At the top of each page, you've got the
Yeah,
clan
I
symbol
know.
for the.
No, but let me just gonna stop you right there. I already know what you're gonna say, and the problem I
Yeah,
have with the book
I wasn't the
is
only one to notice.
the layout. The layout is not an easy thing to do. Very fucking hard, and I just kind of want to leave it at that. Like, this is my first book, and so there's a couple of places where like I tried with the layout.
I know it wasn't your fault.
Yeah, I tried really hard with the layout person to get it all right, and it's just really, really, really hard.
I know,
So
dude. That was a really
yeah,
fucking job of whoever did that. I knew it wasn't you. I'm just saying, your layout dude fucking dropped the ball.
yeah.
Okay.
Well,
No,
yeah.
what yours is easy fix, by the way. And
Well,
this
it's
is
done
my
in
personal pet
InDesign.
peeve, is to bring it up about point 0.5 on the gamma scale to make it a little bit more black. Just admit, won't have to
I
be
have
too
no.
much. But the problem is, until you do, you can't see the death's head skull on the back of the moth, which is my issue.
Oh, you can see the Death's Head skull on the
You
moth, but
can if you stick your face up in the screen.
No, I've got it at 50% view, and I can see it just fine.
Yeah.
But it's off kilter. It's not centered, so that when you turn the page, it like waffles back and forth,
No, I
which
haven't
drives
seen
me
a
insane.
change. It's always been the same.
Oh, hey, yeah, you're right. It does.
It
Yeah,
does?
yeah.
Yeah. I'm
Oh,
scrolling
well,
up. Yeah, that's weird. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
it's just not done right, and it's just a huge
You'll
bummer.
figure it out.
So, well, like a whole layout needs to be redone, which is just a really a
that
huge.
was I went looking for the most trivial thing I could find. I'm just
No,
saying.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's as the writer of the document, believe me, it keeps me
Oh, it
up at night.
irritates the piss out of you, doesn't it?
I think about like how, because if I wanted to pay someone, I would have to pay someone to do this all over again, and then so that's like
You would, and it's okay. Listen, I'm on page 12 right now, just for because it's the section on May Wraith I was talking about earlier. We're gonna talk about a city at the center of the maelstrom here in a minute, okay? But I was like, okay, so the spiked, cast iron spikes that are all over the
oh,
pages.
the border, yeah, that's the
Yeah, yeah,
classic
no, I
third
love that.
edition
I've
border.
always loved that.
Yeah.
But you could see the square that the clan logo takes up, and I'm like, so here's what we need
No,
to do. Straight.
I don't know how you're viewing it, but if you're viewing it through an Adobe Acrobat reader, you won't see those elements. And
Thank you for telling me that.
I think you have it open in an editor, and
Hmm.
so it's asking you if you want to move these things around and mess with them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Now, holy shit, let me check. You're right, but that's still not going to help. Okay, so
No
let's
worries.
go on to the race aspect. Okay, a city at the center of the maelstrom. This fucking makes me hard. No,
Yeah.
dude, no, this
Well, I
shit
went to the
makes me
erotica
hard as
angle,
fuck.
so
You know I love me some Wraith, man.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I think the thing that, well, this is giving away a little bit of the book, but the idea is that the city of the dead that gives Zirnabach his power was wiped out, right? So there were souls that were passing into the afterlife, if you will, and living in this city. Um, there's all these dark kingdoms in the Maelstrom, right? That's what Stygia
Yeah,
is.
yeah, no, it's all
One of it.
surrounding the maelstrom. The Ebony
Right,
Kingdom
and
is, yeah, yeah.
the jade. There's the jade kingdoms, right? There's all these
Yeah,
different.
yeah, the Kingdom of Jade, Stygia, and
There's the ivory
yes,
kingdom is
the
over in
Ivory.
the
These are all around the border, quote unquote, of the Maelstrom.
right, and so this is another one of those,
Yeah,
but
but
it
it
was
says in the book it's at the center, which is crazy to me. No, seriously, can you imagine the chaos? Especially since they're actually, and I did read, like I said, I didn't get to read it all, and I will read it all. But when they were starting to recruit specters, which, relatively speaking, the middlest of the maelstrom is where you'd want to do that to get the strongest of the specters, kind of thing.
Well, the thing about the maelstrom that y'all are talking is that it goes down,
True.
and at the bottom of the maelstrom
Down
is
is a
the abyss.
relative direction in ethereal space or whatever. I know I get what you're saying, dude. I do.
No, right.
But what I'm saying here is the 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 center is where you actually have some point of reference. Okay? And as soon as you start saying we're spitting out intelligent
Clear
specters,
to me that that's the most important.
Oh, sorry.
seriously, the ability to spit out intelligent specters in general are usually very chaotic. They just don't give a shit. They're like chaotic evil as far as the old D&D, alignment scale is concerned. But as soon as you start actually giving these creatures the power to think for themselves, oh my goodness. No,
Well, yeah, I basically just posited that there was a dark kingdom that was controlled by Zirnabok, and that the souls of the Alemanni tribe that fulfilled their oaths would go there, and that's what was lost when the Christianization of Strasbourg, when the Battle of Strasbourg was lost. And so that's really just an Easter egg for someone to try to mine out, have fun in their games. But that was really the point of it. It wasn't the location in the Maelstrom really wasn't the focus. But yeah, definitely an
but
interesting
yeah, like I
point.
said, it's the one game everybody loves but nobody plays.
Yeah, I have thoughts about that too, but I definitely love the lore, and I tried very hard to where I saw it having a place, like the underworld god Zirnabok. I tried very
Yeah.
hard to preserve that stuff because that's all the Steve C. Brown shit from the original origin story that I just think is so wonderful.
No,
So
seriously,
I'm
dude.
gonna go ahead and just stop for a second and just say, just by the way, this is a Storyteller's Vault release. It's non-canonical. I wrote it. It's there if you want to buy it on the Storyteller's Vault. It's called Clan Book Kiasyd, and once again, it's non-canonical. So this is just me saying how I think Clan Book or the Bloodline Kiasyd could be improved because I think I think they became a little hokey in V20. So this is actually
Um,
written in third
drive
edition, revised edition. So there you
drive
go.
through RPG as well.
Yep.
Yep. So you're good to go. I gave for the folks in the channel, go hook a brother up, man. He needs this will
Look,
allow him to actually do more of what he's doing.
Yeah.
dude,
So
since we're gonna give
Go ahead.
the plug here, I want to say I have read a lot of different. Uh, the best way to call it is fan fiction of different bloodlines and stuff like that. And over the years, I've seen some of the craziest shit.
well,
Like some guy making a damn Spider-Man clan
what's that
to
goofy ass fucking NPC?
to dude. Yeah, there's a big page of just nothing but
Serious? Oh, we lost him. Oh shit, we lost him.
he's muted.
Yeah,
Uh,
just muted. No, you didn't lose me.
so I mean, I want to say, Ian, you put a lot of great work into this. You put a lot of great thought into it,
Thanks, man.
and the fact that it actually reads like a clan book,
Yeah, I know, right?
Thanks, man.
That was the
like,
first thing I
Huge
noticed.
compliment.
I just want to say, man,
Other than the clan symbol. Sorry, I'm a bit of a
Yeah, no,
perfectionist.
there's nothing I can do about that. But to anyone that buys the
No,
book,
I know that. I was just
Give
gonna
me
give you
because
shit about
I'll
it
tell
just
you
because
what,
I
I'll
knew
tell
you
you
couldn't
what.
do
me a
it.
second. Just give me a second. If you do
All
buy
right.
the book, if you do buy the book and you feel like the layout pisses you off, it is going to get updated, and it's just a matter of going back to the website and re-downloading it. You can re-download it as many times as you want, and when I update it, you can get the update for free.
Yes, that's
You
what
can.
I like about our drive-through RPG.
Just a second. So you can follow me online at Nocturne RPG Publishing. That's Nocturne RPG Publishing, and I'll make an announcement when I'm going to update it. I just have another project right now, Vampire: The Wild West, and as soon as that is out, which is coming out in July or August, then as soon as that's out, I'm going to go back and update the Clan Book Kiasyd. So there you
Smells
go.
like another show happening.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, that
So
shit,
anyway,
dude.
I
It
want to
smells like another
also say.
show.
I also want to just say thanks. I appreciate your compliments. It definitely was a struggle to make it read like a clan book, and to anyone that's actually really dove into the clan books, they're almost all written in first person. Like I did this and then I did that, and it doesn't. It's most Wikipedia articles and stuff is written in third person omniscient. It's just like this happened and then that happened and then the other thing happened, and it's very easy. It's much easier than writing in first person. And
Yeah.
so
Oh, no doubt.
this entire book almost is written in first person, and I believe that's the feel that you're picking up on, and I really appreciated that because holy fuck, it's not easy. You really, as a writer, especially at the end of the day, you're tired. I have a day job. You wrote this shit in the fucking my spare time and shit, and you just really want to slip into third person omniscient just because it's so much easier.
Yeah, right.
But sure. Yeah, I made sure to add like little flavor. Like you'll notice that the author of the idea is that Clan Book Kiasyd is like a prop that you could use in the game. Like people, the idea, and the author mentions this throughout the book, is that he wrote the book, right? The author is actually named in there at the end. God, I'm forgetting his name. Come on, Ian, don't be a duke. Roderick Philip March.
Oh, dude, we still got an hour and 50 minutes to fill.
Yeah,
Get
no
ready
worries.
to go.
So the one of the major Easter eggs in the book is that not only is it written in first person, but it's written as if you're reading a prop in the game, like the Book of Nod. And
Is your first person male or female?
Yeah, well, his name's Roderick Philip March.
Okay,
So I'll let you...
that's rare for White Wolf. They always like going with the female.
Well, no, so that's very different. So when you talk about mechanics, if you ever write mechanics in Werewolf, it's done where the personal pronoun is a she, is a female, and that is preserved in this book. So if you go to the sections that are obviously not first person, like when you're talking about disciplines and shit, that stuff does refer to the omniscient subject or whatever the appropriate term is as a female. So
yeah, but so does vampire.
Yeah, well, that's just how they do it because
it's just it's not that they tell everything from a female perspective. It's just that they always use the female pronoun.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
no, I don't think that's a bad thing.
No, of course,
great thing. That I'm just wondering what was the thought process behind deciding to go female pronoun as opposed to male pronoun.
To be
it has nothing to do with whether I think one should be.
Well, I can answer your question. It's really simple, and it comes from the social justice idea that we're trying to give egalitarian platforms to people so that the English language has male and female pronouns sort of baked into it, and that we tend to use male pronouns because that's just the way that we are, patriarchy or whatever you want to say.
My car is a she, thank you very much.
Yeah, my car is named Betsy, But the very simple choice of giving women the nod during that, writing experience.
Yeah, I get that part.
Writer. And for me, it was I noticed it right away when I started writing for the Storytellers Vault. I was like, oh, all these, you always refer to the whatever omniscient character or whatever it's called as a female, and I thought that was different. It stuck out, and I don't think I'll ever forget, no matter how many RPGs that I write, that White Wolf does it that way. And I think it's really just for no other reason that they felt like they were pushing an egalitarian envelope. Which, to just comment for a minute, I actually think it's really cool. I don't have any problem with it. So,
but it wouldn't be a social justice warrior.
Well, try not to use the SJW term, but no, social justice.
So it wouldn't be a snowflake worry.
Yeah, well, again, try to avoid.
I know, right? I don't know what else to do. Listen,
well, the term it's egalitarian.
When I see people attacked over some minor faux pas of the wrong gender, there's like 15 genders now. And it's like, how do you know which one to, But I actually saw a dude the other day get attacked in a McDonald's by an employee because they didn't use the correct cisgender or whatever fucking reason for, and I'm like, oh God, no, not.
So I'm going to tell a story. The very beginning of Clan Book Kiasyd is an actual short story, and in that, I actually, because I am conscious to stuff like this, I actually made a joke about sex changes right there in the short story, where the star, if you will, of the opening story is a woman, and she's in possession of this particular item. It's called the True Vessel. It's got the soul of Cappadocius in it, and it's being repossessed by Marconius. That's the founder of the bloodline, and she swears at him, and she calls him a feeble old woman in ancient Greek. It's like calling someone a motherfucker, but what they would do.
Yeah, right.
And he, of course, knows ancient Greek, and so he laughs at her and makes a comment that, if he ever did want to become a woman, he knows a niece that would do that for him. So I think that those sorts of jokes those sorts of nods have been around in White Wolf canon pretty much since the beginning, and probably from the very beginning. And I actually tried right there with that joke about Marconius being willing to do a sex change. That's just sort of the way White Wolf is. Like, it's a very conscious game, in my opinion. But anyway, there's really very little to do with it.
For instance, Sasha Vikos.
Yeah, that's really where
female.
it all boils down to, yeah.
Yeah, and then suddenly she was male, but she's Simiche, so they
It was
can
the other
be
way
either.
around. First born a male and then became a female.
Yeah, they can be either. And so that was the whole, situation was that makes it okay.
Well,
at least it introduced the idea. It was certainly one of the very early. Like, I was a huge fan of Sasha Vikos, and I was very confused when suddenly he was a she. And I didn't. I think it was around 13 or 12 or something. So it was sort of just getting the idea that you could have a sex change, and there were other ideas, like much darker, that I was exposed to. Like, I'll just go ahead and say it. So, like, there's the Montreal by Night book, which is a great book. I highly recommend you get it. It's actually
that one.
It's actually got a Kiasyd in it, and she's in here. The Kiasyd of the librarians. Forgetting her name right now. Beatrice Lianju. She's definitely in the clan book. She's fucking awesome. But at any rate, there's a picture in there, drawn by Leif. Leif.
Yes.
And Leif.
I'd really like to get him.
What's his last name? I forget. Leif Garrett?
No, Leif Erikson.
Leif Anderson? At any rate, I forget.
I forget. No, but
at any rate, there's this really horrific image of like a Zemise with like a strap on that I think she has used to fuck a victim to death who was like chained to a urinal and bleeding to death. It's just this utterly really disturbing image, full of leather and bondage kind of references that like the strap on and stuff. And I think about 12 or 10 maybe, somewhere in there, when I opened that book. It was owned by a friend, and I just didn't understand it. Like, it didn't make sense. Like, I understood that this person had killed this other person and then extracted their blood by fucking them to death. But, like, why?
That's always a fun way.
What was the...
By snoo.
Oh, Jesus, yeah. At any rate, so I also tried to carry that sort of dark feel of the really just... There are bad Kiasyd out there kind of feeling in the book, and I know that's kind of disconnected, but one of the only times a Kiasyd ever actually shows up in the game is in that book, and I find
it would appear to me to be very rare to come by.
Yeah, there's only a handful of them in the world.
The only thing rarer would be a Salubri.
Yeah, I'd say there's a few things that are more rare, like the Narangula or whatever they're called. But
see, now I always thought that it's not necessarily that they're rare, but that you just can't find them.
I would say both.
And that's the way I would run them all the time, is that if I had some weird-ass story element I needed to add, I had at least one Kiasyd chilling in my Sabbat city somewhere.
All right.
Nobody actually knew where he was unless he wanted to be seen.
One of the only other canonical Kiasyds is a guy named Bartholomew, and he's given in the Storyteller's Handbook to the Sabbat in their first appearance. And he actually has a humanity of 8, and he's allied with the Geru and lives in Camarilla territory. It's very interesting. So I would say,
crazy.
Yeah, he's right.
That's
birds. I have one name as to why that occurred.
Yeah,
Samuel Hayes.
Samuel Hayes. That's the guy I was talking about earlier.
Hayes wasn't a Kiasyd.
Oh, he was everything. That was the whole thing.
Sort of, but not really. It was like.
No, I see what you're saying. He was a changeling, whatever. And I think it was the only thing he wasn't was a changeling. At any rate.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was. It's like everything you can be, he was.
My point was that the Kiasyd really have been as independent as they come from day one. Like, there was an obvious example of them. Like, well, they were introduced in the Sabbat handbook, right? They're from the La Sombra. They're a La Sombra.
Yeah.
But then the very first canonical example, Bartholomew, lives in Camarilla territory, has a humanity of 8, blah 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 blah. So it was obvious from page one, if you will, that they are independent, and they were introduced that way, that they're very much not allied with the Sabbat or the Camarilla. And I think that that's
Why
what
would
makes
they
them interesting.
lie to either side, especially
I think you could do. I think you could do like an all Kiasyd game, actually. Like if you
Yeah.
really wanted to. I'm not trying to toot this clan like unreasonably, but for real, like they have a huge range of powers and all this stuff, and I think you could just do. I think you could really do a lot with an all Kiasyd game.
You
It would
could
be
be
very
fun.
interesting. Play it based around. Well, anyway, one of the things about them is that they are, really shy and solitary or whatever, but also they, as a clan, have an organization. It's called the Grand Symposium. The Grand Symposium is held every 50 years, and they get together to talk about their research. And it's a canonical thing. I didn't make it up, but I did take it pretty far. I believe that if that existed, which in my games obviously it does, there would be a hierarchy. Like professor emeritus. You have a associate professor, and accredited classes, and then sort of one-off classes, and you have schools of thought and other
Football
schools
game.
of thought. And
I'm feeling.
so I broke that
the football
broke that
game
all
right.
down so that I
Sorry,
think
guys.
people can.
Sorry.
What's going on?
Nothing. I was talking to the young. Well, holy shit. Never mind.
No worries. So I feel like I put in some time there so that you can center a game around the Grand Symposium. Your characters go, they give their research. Maybe something happens. Maybe they're told to go complete more research, or they find out something that they have to add to their library or something, and it becomes sort of a jump off point for adventuring, if you will. Because you get together and talk about what you've been doing. You might say, okay, I've discovered that the source of a tenebration is this particular place in the abyss. And they'd say, wow, that's really cool. I've been working on mapping the abyss. Here's how you get there. And then you're like, okay, so let's do that. And then suddenly, you've got an adventure in the Shadowlands or whatever. And I feel like
what is west of Westeros?
Right, yeah. So Middle Earth, by the way. So I think that would be east of
Westeros?
Yeah, and I think whatever west of Westeros would be the water. But I think
that's where the map stopped. That's all we know.
Oh, I thought it was actually a coastline. At any rate, the point behind that, right? The Grand Symposium, I think, is sort of the central uniting theme between Kiasyd characters, and is sort of a semi-essential part of their social structure. Other than that, I don't think they would really talk to each other. They would all just be, researching or adventuring or meddling with human affairs, how vampires do. So yeah, I think that Kiasyd status is something that people should think about. I don't think there should be just in an academic situation, not all researchers are considered equal. Like there are people that study underwater basket weaving, and there's people that study quantum physics. And it's like, okay, I'm a professor emeritus in the School of Underwater Basket Weaving. That's really cool.
I actually have a PhD in full contact origami.
You know what I mean? So I think
I think you actually buy a degree in underwater basket weaving for real.
Okay, so for what it's worth, underwater basket weaving is fucking amazing, and everyone should know how to do it. It's one of the things that's going to keep civilization alive. But and there's a reason why you learn these survivalist techniques. You wouldn't get a master's degree in it, but you understand. There's value to
you can actually have if you find the right school. You can
I've definitely seen programs for underwater basket weaving.
My roommate is trying to prove the Kane Hackman theory right now.
There you go. I think that the Kiasyd status, which you can find on page 63, is kind of important if you're going to play an all Kiasyd game, but in general just helps flesh out, like, what are these people even doing? Like, what is the point? Why do they get up? Why don't they just wipe themselves out? What a boring life, And I think that one of the biggest things that they try to do is just gain status. They don't just research for the point of researching and adding another book to the shelf. They go to the symposium and they show off. and they link up with other Kiasyds, and they trade secrets, and sometimes they invite outsiders. Like I made it that Goratrix is a regular attendee. I
He
think
is a
that
Nefandi.
yeah,
I
well,
know for a fact he's Nefandi.
it would make sense that they would link up with anyone that's trying to learn, the dark arts and any of that kind of cool stuff, just because it's just knowledge. It's just another, I hate to say it, but it's just another book on their shelf. Like, why not know dark thaumaturgy? So I explored that too. I also, like I said, I split Mythosyria into two paths. I split it into the Fey Darkling path, and I split it into the Goblin path. The Goblin path focuses on more earth elemental
Manipulation
magic.
of stone, which is
Yeah,
actually
and
kind of cool.
I think it's really great. And then the Fey magic, of course, is more like illusionary stuff. But also, the original discipline spread in second edition for the Kiasyd was Mythosyria, Obtenebration, and Necromancy. And so I didn't want to lose that. Boy, you should just mute your microphone when you're hitting
I'm
that thing, bro. You're
trying.
killing
I am not hitting
me.
anything. I have
So,
COPD. I'm
uh, so
trying my
the
very
uh,
hardest.
so the the necromancer aspect I tried to preserve by like at least addressing necromancy rituals, right? So I gave them some necromantic rituals because why not? I came up with them, and so there's I don't know 5 pages of there's I think five levels, 5 different rituals.
Shit. I'm sorry, folks. Give me a minute. I'll get our people back. It was my fault. I was trying to mute my mic and then all hell broke loose. So, give me a second. Though I'm not actually doing anything wrong. Although I won't consider smoking pot wrong. I'm just trying to breathe right now. That's all. And I apologize. I do. I apologize at all. Apology. Oh shit. Mmm. Jeez, hang on. Shit. What am I doing wrong? Oh my goodness. mm. COPD. Sorry, I can't do any better than this. Oh my goodness. I think that got us under control finally. Um, we're waiting for the folks to actually rejoin us to the in the hangout call. We're gonna keep up. I'm sorry, guys. I apologize this, and I apologize for the folks who will listen to this later. And you know something? While we've got a second, this was not. I'd forgotten to do it at the top of the show. So heads up. I'm still talking shit about the Mind's Eye Society. You damn Skippy, that's what I'm talking about. And these people really, really, really need to understand that their opinion is wonderful and all, and I have no problem accepting somebody with a reasonable um, viewpoint, I guess. So, but here's what I'm saying is until you get your shit together in Austin, I'm going to keep talking shit about you on my show. Okay? I know they're still talking, but I'm here to tell you I'm not talking. So yeah, join mine. See? That's the new. Yeah, we're still going. Um, hmm? Oh, I'm gonna send one to Ian. Hang on. To be perfectly honest, this probably wasn't my. This probably was my fault. Um, what in the motherfucking hell? All right, guys, I'm still talking. So here we go. What part of join mine are you not fucking listening to? He's asked me, what should I do? We're still talking. Join mine. But what should I do? We're still talking. Join mine. Okay? God damn it. But what should I do? Join mine. I'm trying to help these people. I love them all. But some folks just don't fucking listen. Okay? Hello?
So maybe a few of them are kind of crazy.
Hey, Pete.
So I included some,
Should I tell him to quit
not
talking?
necessarily homemade,
Yeah,
like
tell him to quit
obsession and
talking and
paranoia,
join
the
mine.
kind of stuff.
Because
That
nothing he
Hogan
said in the
did
last 10
committed.
minutes
But how
has actually
that
gone
he
out on the air.
Okay, hold on a second.
Because
I mean, he doesn't know that. We have not known that.
I'm
So
sorry,
Yeah, I
that's
feel
what I
like
was
that.
trying to help.
it's okay. Give me a second. I gotta turn my mic back on and let him know.
Okay.
Nuance in this.
That was my fault, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize. You know, I'm responsible for the technical side of the situation, and what just happened was a technical glitch, and I am sorry about that. So we're gonna, if he can do it, we're gonna recover all the stuff he's been talking about prior to now. So let's hope he is still willing to do that. Still waiting on Eric. I just told Ian the news.
Here we are. I'm here.
There they are.
We were still talking, man. We were getting out. It sucks.
I know, but nothing will.
Shit happens. This is not the first time we have had technical glitches fuck up our show.
True that, and that's what I'm hoping to avoid from now on. We're still working. That's not. That was, and it wasn't the
goddamn gremlins.
Wait a minute. We still don't have him here.
Huh?
He's still not here.
Yeah, give him a second. He's got to log out and he's got to do some stuff. He'll be right back. I just talked to him. Anyway.
So we're still.
So, man, how are you? What's up?
I'm here. We're live on the air and doing stupid shit. That's kind of what we're known for, and I really appreciate it.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey.
And I apologize. No, that was not me smoking. I had a COPD fit, and I went to try and mute the mic, and it killed the goddamn feed. It killed.
Oh, no worries.
No, it killed you guys, not the feed itself. I had to keep talking.
Oh, fun. So, are we back online?
We are back online and on the air.
We're live and on the air. Okay.
Live and on the air.
So I think where we were is I was talking about necromancy, and I'll just wrap that up. just wrap that up with I'm actually okay with the fact that they lost necromancy. The original discipline spread was necromancy, obtenebration, and mythoceria, and those are all like in clan whatever specialty disciplines.
Yeah, right. Other
And
than Mythosera, it's right up there with La Sombra.
it's dope. I love them,
Yeah.
and that's the thing too. You know, there are other clans that are hella powerful. Look at the fucking Tremere. They have fucking,
Hello.
you know, they have thaumaturgy, and you can just take different paths of thaumaturgy, and then what's the fucking point? You know. So anyway,
Potency,
in the
yo.
in the in the intro to V20, the core book, if Justin Achille or whoever wrote it, I forget, actually mentioned this, and they didn't call it the Kiasyd by name, but they said that they really wanted to focus on balance for V20 because they felt like a lot of the things had been broken, and they named the example that there was a bloodline that had 3 specialty disciplines, 2 of which were obtenebration and necromancy, and that was balanced out by changing necromancy to dominate. And as much as I feel like in sort of an
hold up. Wait a minute.
so to just put that in, yeah, put that in perspective. So in 2E, the mythoceria, the disciplines were mythoceria, obtenebration, and necromancy. But in V20, when they were reintroduced, the disciplines became obtenebration, mythoceria, and dominate. So they lost necromancy and gained dominate. And to me, I actually don't have any problem with that. I think it's a great choice. I do think it helps balance them out. What I don't think is that the previous way where they had necromancy in any way like broke the game. I think that giving them dominate made them more powerful and made them more day-to-day walk around and fuck with people kind of vampires. And and I feel like that
Wait a minute,
helped.
that's a violation of the first fucking
Yeah, the first rule of Fight Club.
Masquerade. What the hell?
So, well, you know what I'm saying. Well, yeah, they're independent, but the disciplines that interact with people in general, like on a face-to-face basis, is the physical disciplines, presence, dominate, stuff like that. A lot of the other disciplines do too. Just saying that obtenebration, controlling shadows, necromancy, raising the dead, mythoceria, telling funny jokes that make you think a lot.
No, that's what is the holy shit, the
Hey, wait a minute.
is this your card?
Magic tricks?
Huh?
I'm not sure what you're getting at, but it sounds like
you're saying for the third of the clan disciplines you just mentioned, there was the Ravnos. Their primary clan discipline is this sort of glamour dealy. Is this your card?
Yeah, it's called Chimeristry.
Yeah, yes. And I was like, that doesn't make your clan better.
Well, I think Chimeristry is actually really interesting, and I actually have no problem with the Ravnos in general. It was one of the first clan books I ever bought.
Really?
And I was raised with Roma folks, so I find the whole objection to them in general to be kind of odd. But I get it; they're gone, no problem. But yeah, I think Chimeristry is quite interesting, and thought about kind of including some Chimeristry stuff in here, but I left it out for fucking continuity's sake,
Yeah.
But anyway, what I'm getting at, I didn't include any dominate stuff. I think there's a combo discipline that includes dominate, but I feel like the V20 discipline, I think that's the one thing that Dawkins did to the Kiasyd that I really think is great. I think it's a great improvement. I do think it balances them out. I didn't take that into account in this game or in this book because it is a revised edition book, and so I wanted to give the nod to the fact that when revised was out, the 3 disciplines that the Kiasyd had was necromancy, obtenebration, and mythoceria.
Hold on a second here.
Yeah.
I have the Guide to the Sabbat with the Kiasyd in it from revised.
Sure.
I'm looking at it right here.
Yeah, it's not from revised, it's from 2E, but yeah. You're looking at the revised one, is what you're saying. And it's already dumb. And that's right. They're in the Sabbat book, and it's dominated there.
Dominate Mythoceria Obtenebration.
Awesome.
They're part of it. I mean, they were originally part of the spot. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
No. Yeah, I just forgot that they were in that book. And
Oh, it's
yeah,
all
and so the note where they talked about that must have actually been in Revive. Okay, that's actually kind of funny because I
Yeah,
didn't.
it is.
Let's see what actually happened here. I'm looking at the Kiasyd plan book.
I just put it back up.
So page 99.
Yeah, after Harbor
Okay, okay, I'm not an idiot. So I did actually do it right. I did dominate Myth or Syria and Obtenebration. It's right there on the character sheet. But yeah, I just misspoke because I guess just forgot.
It's all good, man.
No, you almost got me, dude. I really thought I was like, is the author an idiot? What happened to him?
Oddly enough, the Mythera and the fucking necromancy are just like OP as shit. Just those.
Well, it depends. I mean, if you look at the edition, second edition where they came from with the guided Stavat, Necromancy was a shitload more powerful than it is now, or it was in Real Eyes. Like they had to, because literally, like within 3 dots, you're ripping souls out of people and all. I mean, just really nuts stuff. So they definitely had to temper that. But I mean, honestly, with their origins from the Lasombra, it does make more sense to have Dominate above Necromancy.
Yep.
But I can see why they threw Necromancy in there. But I still dig the idea that you have.
Yeah, I really like the 2E version a lot, where they're necromancers, but it gives them a lot to give them Dominate. It makes them more of a Sombra bloodline. It's the right choice. And I guess it wasn't
I felt that. From what I wasn't able to get through, I was like, yeah, this is a bloodline of the Ravenos. I can feel it. No.
Oh, no, it's Sombra.
No, I felt that all the way. And I'm like, okay, yeah, but turning them over to the Shimmishe to try and figure out what they pulled off, which really
the origin story, yeah. Well, yeah,
we haven't talked about it yet, and that was so far for what I've read. That's my favorite part.
Nice.
Whole, we've tortured the absolute shit out of them. We got all we want, so let's turn them over to the even more dickhead people.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then dude steps into the dreaming just to get away from that.
Yeah, and that's how I did. I mean, they didn't really explain like where he went. What our glorious host is talking about is the founder of the clan was embraced and then disappeared, and they didn't really explain that. They just say in his original origin story in the Handbook of the Sabbat that he just resurfaced, hella years later.
Yeah, it just suddenly appeared. Poof.
Yeah, and they didn't really explain that.
And I'm
not totally sure why. Yeah, so I made it that he went into the dreaming, and that's where he learned Myth or Syria. And then when he emerged in the 15th century, he showed up to Strasbourg and took Strasbourg from the Vintrup.
Of course.
And from the Toreador who controlled it at the time.
Yeah,
that's
they were able to stand up to that.
Yeah, and that's a canonical battle, as I recall. I'm not sure that I even invented that.
And anybody who rolls into somebody else's town and decides to take Princip, you better goddamn deal with it. One way or another.
He still controls Strasbourg, and this is canonical. That it's one of the only people that he was a Sabbat. It was basically a Sabbat city, and then for like hundreds of years, and the Camarilla just sort of recognized him as an independent, and he's now considered a prince. So he controlled.
But it's an overlay of what was sitting at the center of the maelstrom.
I think so. I don't think so. I mean, I'm just saying it is because
you wrote the fucking book, dude. It's like, go for it, dude.
I think that's how some of the coolest elements of his origin story can be tied together. Like, why did he disappear for 1,000 years? Why does he have a connection to
years at the center of the maelstrom?
Yeah, spent 1,000 years in the dreaming, and traveling the maelstrom, learning Myth or Syria, inventing a discipline, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what else takes a fucking 1,000 years? So
that's fucking crazy, and I love it. No, that was
a
hell of an idea.
If y'all remember, also within the maelstrom is also the labyrinth.
Right.
That's no, but the labyrinth is actually under the foundations
For
of
what it's worth, I'm actually working on the tri-book Black Spiral Dancers. That's another thing that
Oh,
Nocturne.
no, we got you for that one, dude. You gotta have. Come on.
That one is. I'm already like legitimately. I need therapy, dude. Just researching it.
It's
So
because
foul.
those fucking bitches are crazy, man.
It's really well. I mean, we'll talk about that another time. But the
Yeah.
Black Spiral Dancers and the Labyrinth and all that shit is definitely something to talk about.
Yes,
But,
we've discussed.
Then there's always the story of Lothar rends the buttocks, the Black Spiral Dancer with a cock asphyxiation.
Oh man, there's so many weird elements of that game that are so childish. I can't.
Oh, I know.
No, he just does that with names. The creatures that the actual characters themselves are well thought out.
And Wicked
No, they
sometimes-
really are.
I sometimes seriously cannot think of a name, and if put on the spot, I tend to think of the dumbest thing possible.
Yeah, their names are alcohol.
His name's gonna be Bob Bitchin.
Yeah, right.
All right, yeah,
Basketball Jones.
yeah.
So for what it's worth, we've gone through a lot of the Easter eggs that I planted here, and I actually kind of like that we're digging them up as opposed to like, letting people find them on their own, and then I never hear about them again. But one of the ones that I planted here that I thought was really interesting actually came from the Vampire: The Eternal Struggle card game. The very last. Yeah, so in Vitesse, the Eternal Struggle, there was a tournament, like in real life, and the final tournament game was between a Kiasyd deck and a Bali deck, and the Kiasyd deck ended up winning. And
Kiasyd won?
Yeah, it won the final Vitesse tournament. Yeah, the Kiasyd deck did. And so I included the Kiasyd Bali War as part of the clan book, so that in the late 19th and early 20th century, there was a war between the Kiasyd and the Bali, and that still sort of.
Which seems kind of odd since they're working towards the same goal.
Well, they would be very different. Like one they would always be after the same shit. Like the Kiasyd, the Indiana Jones Kiasyd game, right? You got a Kiasyd character, he's after his magical items, and he gets there, and who's got it first?
If I can get enough magical items, I can bring around by Ragnarok or whatever.
Yeah, well, I mean that's I'm really throwing the D&D tropes around right now, but I think you see the point that the Bali and the Kiasyd are two sides of the same coin. They're very different, but very much the same, right? The Kiasyd are all about information, just for the sort of betterment of society's sake, and the Bali want a specific type of information so that they can do something very specific with it. It's very brute forcey. And I don't think the Kiasyd and the Bali would get along at all intellectually, and they definitely would come to odds when it comes to collecting artifacts and stuff. So that's the way I looked at the Kiasyd-Bali relationship, and that's where I got it. I got it from Vitesse, which I thought was a lot of fun.
Yeah, right? No, I think it is a lot of fun.
One of the other things, I just got to jump right on it because I think it's totally cool, that I did that I thought people would find, but of course, I don't really talk to too many people like this.
Keep going,
What happened?
dude.
Oh, I just came across another fucking Charlie Hall article about
worries.
Vampire and his bitching. But go on, keep going.
No worries. So yeah, I always kind of wondered why there was no Frankenstein in the books, right? It didn't really make it. No, but Prometheus isn't part of the classic world.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't.
All right, hold up. I'm sorry.
No politics.
I gotta chill for a second. Okay, so I've had this ongoing feud with Charlie Hall, the guy who started the fucking bullshit. Well, it's a lie, actually. That there was all this neo-Nazi and all this stuff. Basically, the controversy that wasn't actually.
Oh yeah.
He's written another article where it's actually about Bloodlines 2, where he goes through and does the same fucking thing again.
Does he mention the?
Oh yeah, he goes through the whole thing of his whole rant because he was uncomfortable during the game.
But we want to hear about what we're talking about tonight, dude.
I'm sorry, like I said.
No problem.
Continue.
Yeah, no problem. So I was always kind of wondering why there was no Frankenstein in the classic World of Darkness. And of course, there's Prometheus, which is amazing, and you should go out and you should play it. And maybe
Yes.
somebody somewhere could create an unofficial port over from the new World of Darkness to the old World of Darkness, so I could
TV,
play
man, we
Prometheus.
might actually pull that
But
off.
I actually asked the guys at the Storytellers Vault, by the way, about that, and they said you can't do it. So probably nothing coming anytime soon. But what I did on page 52, as part of the Abyss mysticism section, is I made a ritual to create a fucking Frankenstein.
A
It's called
golem. Flesh golem.
Curse of the Flesh Golem. That's right. And I'll just leave it to people to pick apart. Like it, don't like it, throw it out, whatever. It's all non-canonical anyway. But the idea was that, of course, you know, in the Victorian era, people would have tried to do this, right? I mean, the Resurrection Men, that was actually a thing. And I think, if anything, the Necromancers or the Abyss of Tenebration, Abyss Mystics would have picked up on that. I actually chose to make it part of Abyss mysticism because I felt like that's really just evil. But I could easily have just made it a level 6 necromancy ritual, and it's up to you if you want to port it over. But yeah, I figured that was an interesting way to look at, like, you know, I like a lot of the things that I've said about the Kiasyd makes them sound kind of cool and kind of sexy, you know, and like that's not necessarily the game I think everyone wants to play. I think some people might look at them as like really dirty, down low, sort of back to the necromancy days.
I drive a
And so
garbage truck. What are you talking about?
yeah, you know, like there's plenty of black magic and evil knowledge out there, forbidden knowledge, right? So I think that that's another aspect of the game, is that there could be Kiasyd who are after really nasty rituals that they know exist, like how to make a flesh golem, but are really hard to find, or are trying to maybe invent them. And so I created the mechanics for what I think are interesting aspects of the game. You know, making flesh golems, animated corpses walking around, without using
You could
the ash path.
cause some major havoc. And it technically
Yeah.
wouldn't be a violation of the first
Yeah, it depends on how
edition.
ugly they are, right?
No, creating a flesh golem and turning it loose. It's the same as a Simiche creating a war ghoul.
Bizad, yeah, or whatever.
Just sending it out into fucking Times Square and let's do this. You
Word.
know, it's not technically a violation of the first tradition, but it's
Right.
still a dick move.
Dick move.
But you're actually thinking that they're going to give a shit about traditions. You keep
Yeah.
forgetting.
But no, that's the thing.
Yeah, they're
I
not Maria, but yeah,
I
that
don't think there are enough Kiasyd who would be willing to, how should I say,
cause a ruckus or whatever.
yeah, thank you. Tear off what I meant to say was tear off their shirts and start a bunch of bull males.
Yeah. Well, I actually, for what it's worth, I think that the Sabbat are incredibly misunderstood, and
Yes.
if anything, probably played incorrectly. Not that that's a thing; you can't play it incorrectly, but I certainly don't understand how they could all be murder hobos and still be around. So, right. So I think that
Neo says flesh golems are always cool.
right. So I think that Peter's point about having to follow the first rule of the Masquerade, kind of in general, is generally true. I think that the Sabbat tend to respect that because they know it'll get them killed Inquisition status.
There's
And
always a differentiation between number of vampires to the number of city dwellers.
exactly,
And if you
yeah.
can
It's
actually
like you
prove
got
that there's these vampire nasty fucking things out there starting some shit like on CCTV or whatever, and don't think that city won't turn around and squash you like a bug.
right. Well, total aside, actually, but I forgot one of the more interesting aspects of the Kiasyd is that when they are embraced, they turn ghost white, their eyes turn black, and they stretch quite a bit,
And
sometimes up
ears.
to sometimes up to 18 inches. And there are other references to them getting eldritch ears, like little elf ears.
Yes,
And
they have
for
the
me
elf
personally,
ear.
and there's another one, right? I forgot. Under the full moon, when they just fed, sometimes their skin glows blue. Barf. But at any rate,
That could be a problem.
I have to agree with that. Barf.
It's so stupid. It's so fucking stupid. But I made sure to include that because if people want it, barf, It's there, but I decided, when you really think about it, like you've got all these things. Your eyes are black, your skin's white, you're 6.5, 8 fucking feet tall. Now your skin is glowing blue. That's another flaw. I'm sorry. All
Yeah,
those
that
things
is a
together,
flaw.
that is a whole flaw right there. Now, and their main clan weakness is the sensitivity to silver. So now you've got sensitivity to silver. You're 8 feet tall. You're chalk fucking white. You're a walking, talking violation of the masquerade.
But how did they
So
get? How did they get the clan? The actual clan uh, vulnerability to silver, unless they got fucking lupine blood in them.
Fey blood. So the
I thought
old
it was
Fey
school.
cool.
was iron, dude. Cold
Yeah,
iron.
iron. Did I say silver? I meant
Yes,
iron.
you did.
Sorry.
Oh, okay, my
Oh, no
bad.
biggie.
Sorry. Yeah.
Sorry. Cold. It used to be cold wrought iron, but nobody makes cold wrought iron anymore. So all the iron in the world is made with like the Vesper process or whatever. So either they're completely immune to being poked with a fork, or whatever. It's not cold wrought iron anymore. But at any rate, they have a sensitivity to iron, pure iron,
Mm.
and it causes aggravated damage if they touch it. They have to make a rocker check, whatever frenzy roll.
The
Um,
cool, and we were talking earlier about magic items. The dude that the mighty Boosh dude, no, the guy his child was that he had a sword that was created from both silver and cold iron, and
oh, and he would chop up
yeah, and
vampire,
he was fucking
werewolves.
no lupines and vampires. It was your ass and cat and fae apparently.
So, any rate, I
Sorry.
decided to make all. No, I had to remember where I was. No problem. I decided to make all those sort of accessory features. Blue skin when you're feeding and 8 feet tall. 1 point flaws that you could take. So you are going to be. You do have ghost white skin. There's no changing that.
Yeah, there
You
is.
are,
It's like in the
you,
eyes too.
right, and well, I didn't make it that way, but I made it so that they have the ghost white skin, and they do stretch, but having all black eyes, having eldritch ears, having blue skin when you've just fed under a moonlight or whatever, are all flaws. And so you can play these characters in the Renaissance, for example. If you had all black eyes in the Renaissance, then I'm sorry, that would not fly. There's
No,
no way
because
to get the
you'd
tattoo.
freak people out. You really
Yeah,
would.
you would be a walking, talking masquerade breach, and nobody wants to play that. That's an automatic fucking no for me. So I pulled that out and made them flaws, and you can find those on page 58. So I think that some of the things I think that people associate with the Kiasyd, me personally, I took them out. I made them flaws. But I think that if you think about it, it's like the Kiasyd had two clan weaknesses. So
Okay, and that's actually, as far as clan weaknesses are concerned, that's actually not too bad. I can think of worse.
yeah, I mean, it didn't affect their appearance. Like, I think I have actually a Pinterest board for Clan Book Kiasyd, and I found a bunch of images of people doing really outrageous cosplay of different
Like the
demons and
one I
whatever
was,
whatever
the one I
whatever
was
they
using,
intended. It looks like a Kiasyd. I'm sorry, what's that?
like the the picture I was using, because I didn't actually have permission to use the copyrighted image, so I went and got the next best, out of, when it's in domain, public domain, you can actually use it for whatever the hell you want. And but you, thank you for giving me permission. I appreciate it. It makes
No worries.
because I think you actually did a really whoever did the art for the
Yeah, the cover art was done by
show.
Mark Kelly, and
But the girl playing the cosplay in the video, the picture I did post, that girl knows, and that long hair can actually hide the ears. So
yeah, she's great. That's Luzia Lux. She's a dominatrix here in Los
is she
Angeles.
now? Mm-mm.
She is. You can find her on Instagram. It's not a secret. And she actually was the original model for the Kiasyd images in V20, and which were also done by Mark Kelly.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's been on the show.
Marquez,
I believe so. Listen,
right?
at this point, I'm having a hard time keeping track
Yeah, no worries.
Mark actually sounds familiar.
No worries. Yeah, so
And
Mark is
right up
a
there with
Scottish.
Jason Carl, that he's been on the show too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Mark is a Scottish artist. You can find him called Grim Ventures on Instagram, and actually that's how I discovered him. I had no idea he knew about anything. I just saw his art when I was looking for like dark shit, and I thought it was amazing. And I contacted him and I said, "Hey, have you ever heard of Vampire the Masquerade?" And he was like, "Yeah, I know about that shit. Who the fuck is this
Right?
idiot?" And he did the cover. At any rate, so
Leaf
and then
was
asked him, hey, I was like, hey, do you know about the Kiasyd? And he just kind of like, he was just very nonchalant. He's like, yeah, I know about them. It took me a while to, I had already commissioned the art, and before he didn't even tell me, before I found out that he was the guy that did the Kiasyd art in the first place.
oh
It's
nice.
pretty amazing, yeah. And while I'm
Yeah.
here, actually, that's not the only the cover. That's the cover I'm talking about, and that's not the only custom art. Actually, I also contacted and commissioned a piece, full page by John Cobb. He was the guy that did a lot of the art for Wraith. He did the Samis book. He's amazing. His art is very disturbing, and
Yeah, it's really good. I love his stuff.
yeah, you'll see.
That's the same artist I'm thinking of. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, the only time he's ever drawn a Kiasyd, it's on page 5 of the book. It's fucking amazing. I have the original. I love it.
Leaf.
John Cobb, you're the man. Thanks, John.
Leaf.
So
Leaf. What's his name?
Leif,
Leif. That brother has never played vampire to save his life, and he doesn't even know enough to talk about it. Because I
yeah, he's
actually
an
tried to
interesting
get him
guy.
on the show, and he's like, "Well, I don't know much about it." I said, "I don't want to talk about much about the game. I want to talk about your art, dude."
Yeah, he's an interesting guy. Leif, if you're listening, you owe Josh Heath some art, so get to him, please. Thank you.
There you go. There you go. Anyway,
Love you, Leif, but you
New
gotta
Wave
you gotta
Gamer
come through
your
there, buddy.
question answered you.
So
I said,
yeah,
New Wave, do you need the interest name again for DeviantArt, or you got it?
no, yeah, Grim
No, I
Grim
swear
Ventures.
the link I sent you or her, whoever, somebody actually asked about it in the comments. Oh, it was Darlene DeRosa, and she asked, yeah, she wanted to know where that image came from. So
Yeah, I'm trying to tell you.
huh?
I'm trying to tell you. It's called Grim Ventures. Grim_Ventures on uh, Instagram. That's Mark Kelly's handle, and that's where you can get all the art. He owns them, so if you want them, you can contact him.
Well,
He
there
has,
you
has
go, New Wave. You got that? I hope so.
Grim_Ventures on Instagram. Right. He's
Gotta
really
gotta
amazing.
keep the producer happy.
Yep. So
Yeah.
anyway, moving right along. One of the probably the coolest thing, I don't know, there's a lot of stuff that I really enjoyed writing for this book, to be honest. But probably the thing that I've always wanted to do, besides writing the book in general, was writing my own path of enlightenment. And I actually did that because I think it makes a lot of sense that the Kiasyd would have their own path. It's on page 66. It's called Path of the Clockwork Mind. And it, of course, is about being mechanical. It's heavily influenced by uh, Stuart Mill's utilitarianism philosophy, where the point of getting up every day is to achieve goals, and if you don't achieve these goals, then you're just a piece of shit. And knowledge is power, basically, right?
Yes.
Scientia est potentia. That's the reoccurring theme that occurs throughout the book. This term, knowledge is power. And I think that in order to achieve a life where knowledge comes to you and you're constantly able to use it as in a way to will to power, um, the clock made a very this sort of mechanical sort of person was made a lot of sense to me. So I explored that, and I think you should check it out. Page 66, 67.
Yeah, moving on to the from flesh to a clockwork goal. That could be
Oh
fun.
yeah, don't even get me started on the Dungeons and Dragons stuff, man.
Oh,
I
the clockwork goal.
So I actually think that's probably one of. I think we talked the very first time I came on the show. Actually, we talked about like who were the worst NPCs in the White
Yeah,
Wolf
no, that was funny.
canon,
Yeah.
Samuel Haight was the
and
worst.
I really think that it's this mechanical man, Marcello, the mechanical man, this sort of steampunk animated, mechanical golem thing from the Victorian age companion. But yeah, so yeah, for some weird reason they never made a flesh golem, but they made a mechanical golem. Who knows?
Clockwork Golem, and yeah, I
Clockwork
get you.
golem. Thank you.
Yeah. No, actually, dude, that's actually been one of the most. It's right up there with Pinocchio. As
No,
far as
dude.
how you do the whole whoop. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Eric. I saw. I thought it was a question, and I whooped it before I read it.
Oh, yeah, no problem. No biggie.
Oh,
You would? It's all good.
anyway, no. Okay, we got a no question for fucking New Wave for you there, Ian. Yeah,
Sure.
the dude who took the picture is important, but she thinks the girl who's in the picture is gorgeous. She wants to know who she is.
Her name is Luzia Lux. You can also
Who?
find her on Instagram. Luzia is spelled Luzia underscore LOWE. Luzia Low. She's amazing. You want to see blood and some cleavage? Check her out. Her Instagram.
Ooh, boobies. Love me some boobies.
She's very fucking unique.
Yeah, no, I love her, man. That's why I used her picture. She is freaking gorgeous.
Yeah, she's a mix. She's part Thai. She's just check out her Instagram, Lizzie Low. Real person. She's very
Yeah.
nice too. Like she's
Yeah, what
not
he
a
said.
mean person. Like there's all this thing about what kind of what is it? Who is a dominatrix? She's a really nice person. I've talked to her a number of times. I think she's great. She shares my stuff when it's Clan Book Kiasyd. She shares it on her page. She's great. I think she's a really nice lady.
Oh, dude. Homegirl
I'm
said,
stealing
you
some of
have
her
me
makeup.
blood and cleavage.
I am stealing some of these makeup ideas. Keep going.
Yeah. No, so you're checking out her page right now, I hope.
Yes, it's amazing.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
know, right?
No, it's
You
I
pretty
have
got
me
mind-boggling.
sucked
blood
into
and
it. I'm
cleavage.
sorry, man.
I
Blood and
didn't know
boobies.
anything about her,
It's
dude.
blood and
She
boobies. You
was a
gotta say it
model, and
right.
I checked out her page. I was like, holy shit, this bitch is for real.
All right.
So,
It's great, man.
But it's still
she's
blood and
amazing.
boobies. I love
Oh,
me some
dude.
blood and boobies.
Yeah, you want to
Mm.
see what it really means to be like vampire lifestyle? Fuck, dude, check out Luzia Lowe's fucking Instagram.
Yeah, I know,
And yeah,
right?
so
She's
you wouldn't
goth,
get that
goth
from the cover
kids.
image. Like, she's very tone. She did a really good job with the cover. She's very regal, very intelligent. You
She ought to
wouldn't you just
actually submit
don't
some of
get
her
that
stuff
from,
to
which is what I
Bible,
wanted. I wanted a librarian on the
or
cover.
at the very least, some of you storytellers vault guys. She needs to goddamn do some of y'all,
She
pose
does
for
good
some
work.
of your
She does
shit,
great work. She does
huh?
great work. She works with Mark Kelly, Grim Ventures on Instagram.
Does
If you
she?
want,
Oh,
if you
nice.
want, just you want to just hang some art on your wall. Contact Grim Ventures for a couple $100. You can have some original art with Luzia in it. You
I'd
never know.
love that picture of her
Yeah.
as a freaking
Sorry, I just honestly, I'm
kid.
gonna be. This is weird. I've actually just recently, like in the past week, discovered Instagram. Not really discovered it, but actually started using
I
it.
know me, right?
It's pretty amazing.
I
I
still don't have an Instagram account. Shut up.
I like it. I still hate Twitter, but I
Yeah.
dig Instagram.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no, it's that. I think there's a good community waiting to emerge of people that use really high quality images to guide their players during online gaming, like storytellers that say, and then you walk into a room and it looks like this and it sounds like this and it smells like that. That's cool. I love that. That's what I do. But also, if you got really into Pinterest and Instagram and stuff, you could find the exact image. Like this is exactly
A
what the
reverse
torture
image
chamber
look.
looks like.
Yeah.
You know, and I've started delving into that. Where like I've got some people and they're going into this underground cave. In one of my Wild West games, I have an exact picture of like what I think that cave looks like, and it's not just like a fucking hole in the ground. I made it all crazy. I got a picture of a mine
Oh,
pit that's
cool.
like got weird colors and shit. And so I think that adds a lot to the game, right? So Instagram is great, Pinterest is great. It can help your game. Definitely go and look at images
All
that you
right.
think will help
Now,
you be a
I've
good
always
storyteller.
felt there's a company that does candles that put out different smells. As
Weird.
far as as far as your chronicle or whatever you're doing, you can do everything from Prince's home to sewers.
Yeah, back in the day. They had this thing. It's called smell-o-vision, and it was just that they would
Yeah,
like
no,
release
but this
smell.
they went the cheap direction.
Yeah,
Using
smell-o-vision. Wow,
candles themselves.
this
But
the smell-o-vision app.
yeah,
Check it out.
shit,
Available
that
on
was not going to
Google Play.
work out well. But
So
Anyway,
So we've actually only got about less than 20 minutes left, so I'm going to kind of skirt to the end here.
Hold on 1 second. She says, scrolling through Instagram, and I'm already in love.
Yeah, Lucia Lowe, you're awesome. Thank you so much. I really can't say it enough. Mark Kelly, Grim Ventures on Instagram, is the artist, and the model was Lucia Lowe, also on Instagram.
All right, now
Various
let's do your end.
No, yeah. I always want to plug the homies. So on page 70, I started with what I thought was probably the biggest takeaway from this book. The very first question that Eric asked, which I think is an appropriate question, except for who the fuck are the Kiasyd, would be, are the Kiasyd all librarians? I think that's pretty much the number one question anyone coming into this interview would have. And so on page 70, what starts are the character templates, which of course occur in all the clan books. There's always 10 different sample characters. But I made sure that these were like characters I would play. I could actually see this happening. And are they all librarians? No. As a matter of fact, only one of them is a librarian. I had to include a librarian. But, what are there, right? Like, there are researchers. Okay, so that's a thing. That's not a librarian. I decided in this case it was somebody who's researching abyss mysticism. So this is basically an abyss mystic. I could go on more there, but I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Somebody that
that's pretty.
Yeah, right. This is somebody who sits around traveling into the Shadowlands, trying to gain information from wraiths. Probably is very similar to a Cappadocian. In effect, like how it really plays out. And that's just one. So another one that I like, that I think is also kind of obvious, is the Fae friend. Like somebody who is heavily attuned with and probably has allies that are true Fae or changeling, and maybe spends time dealing with the situations that they're going through, like the true Fae in the Dark Ages. If you were playing like a 1400s game or whatever. You could be dealing with the encroachment of society. So you could have like a sort of a gangrel almost kind of, kind of ranger
somebody
druid.
riding along with the Roman attack force.
Or no, quite the opposite. Or somebody trying to destroy Roman outposts, that are cutting down the trees and stuff like that. Like you could really take a strong environmentalist bent on that one. Another one, of course, would be a goblin master. Like this is somebody who's interacting with these sort of ethereal creatures that exist, the goblins, Unseelie, Winter Court, whatever you want to call them, be doing very different stuff. They would probably be trying to control humans and not save the environment, And then, of course, occult hunters, like people like straight up motherfucking Indiana Jones, people who are maybe buying and selling these things on the goblin markets in the Dreaming, straight up selling them, going out, finding magical items and selling them, or collecting
like
them.
the jar with the enchanted wax.
Yeah, I mean that was the deal. The true vessel is the thing that trapped the soul of Cappadocius.
Yeah.
And in the game, like the canonical explanation is that it was possessed. Baron Samadhi possessed it and passed it off to Augustus Giovanni. And so they never really explained how in the hell that would ever happen. Like, how did this Samadhi just randomly get his hands on it?
Waiting
and
of course, Samadhi clan book, dude.
Well, I'm also writing the Samadhi clan book.
Are you good man? Good man.
Yeah. So the Samadhi in the story is the Samadhi literally the Baron literally bought it from Arconius, who basically took it from Angalka, the woman who called him a feeble old woman.
One of the craziest things that I read from what I could get through was that how much does an entity lose? How much blood do they have?
Yeah.
And how many of these freaking jars are floating
right
around?
Well, that was, I think, a big hole in the canonical origin story. Was they went and they got this jar of Zirnabok's blood. So, well, what is Zirnabok, like a cat? Does he only have one blood point?
You're right.
And so, where are the other blood points? Did he just randomly just like fill a jar full of blood and like give it away, and he's just still walking around? What happened? Like, how exactly did they get jars of this guy's blood?
How hard would it be to siphon it from him while he was in torpor?
Yeah, exactly. Well, Zirnabok in this is not a vampire. He's a fucking true fae who lives in the underworld.
But
So that the whole process becomes even more complicated. Like, so
yeah, okay, yeah, I
how did
get
it
you now.
transfer from from the Shadowlands back into the Skinlands? Like
When
the
the
whole
city crossed back over.
well, yeah. I mean, it's just you're taking items from the Shadowlands and bringing them into the Skinlands. Which honestly, does that even happen? Like, I don't know. So
It's
Yes.
part of Gehenna.
very
No,
cool.
it's actually just a it's a necromancy ritual.
It's one of their arcana, right?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
no? Oh, okay. It's a necromancy ritual. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah,
Well, I
there's
think
necromancy and there's an arcanoid. Basically, you just create a small. You can reach basically besides going into the
yeah,
Shadowlands. You
same
can
thing. Yeah,
place something in there and just reach in and grab it. You know.
perfect. Well, I didn't make that an issue anyway. I just assumed that somehow it transferred. But I think you get the idea that
Yeah,
that
totally.
that
Well, no, it
I
worked
would
for me.
use the
I was
samadhi.
like,
Yeah, I used the samadhi to
no,
tie the whole thing
it
together.
worked for me. I was
I
looking
love it.
as
Love
I
it.
got. I told you as far as I got, and it was like, okay, so you bring the city over. For that's cool. I can do that. They did it for Enoch. Why can't they do it for these guys? So
Yeah.
therefore, but how much is he still incorporated inside that
You
city?
know, in my opinion, it's okay. First of all, it's not addressed in the book, so this is literally just it's not even like my book's not canonical, but at least it's on paper. This is just
You're
me,
on
just
can. You're canon,
yeah.
dude. You're the only
But
one who's written.
I would love it if this came canonical, by the way.
I
But
would.
I think for me, Zirnabok is dead, and people have harvested his body, and there are more relics out there. There are more jars of his blood, maybe his bones,
Floating
maybe his
around.
eye. Yeah, exactly. But they're not floating around in the Skinlands. These are the things that, like, remember,
Oh.
he isn't even from the Skinlands. He's a true Fae
Yeah.
who lives in the underworld. So we're talking like these things aren't like in Stygia, basically. That's where I would assume.
But that would
Yeah.
make them netherborn.
Mm-hmm.
Did you say Neverborn?
Nether. Nethere.
Like things
Oh,
from the
okay. Sorry.
Shadowlands. Yeah, I mean, I think of him as a Fae, and I think of the Fae, the true Fae, Zirnabok we're talking about, as not confined to the dreaming. That the dreaming is definitely the realm of the changeling, but the true Fae kind of go everywhere. They go to the Shadowlands, they go to the dreaming, they very, very well connected to the Skinlands.
Hmm?
Um, so that I see them as sort of kind of like, I don't know, gods, hence the term underworld god. And but I assume that they, of course, die. You know, it's not like they're unkillable or anything. But that they're rare enough that they would be, ripped apart and harvested like specimens. Hence his blood existing in a jar.
But again, as long as he's still floating around, he'll keep producing jars of blood.
Well, unless he died in the Shadowlands, and then he would just
Yeah,
go to
but
oblivion.
okay, that's problematic at best. As far as dying already on the other side of the veil, I don't think it's ever happened. I know that Charon is one of the few who was alive and was specifically transformed when how's it, when he shifted to the Shadowlands, and that he would became the first of the ferrymen. He was still alive up until that point, but he's not really dead either. You know what I mean?
Think.
Oh shit! Who pinged me? Jesus Christ! Uh, Ian, are you still there?
See, I don't, man. I
No.
think so.
Yeah, it says he's here.
Huh? Weird.
Hold on, I'm checking my ping. Whoever pinged me, I want to. Oh, okay. Send a photo. Oh no, he BSD. So he's gonna be out in a few minutes. Um, and we're just gonna keep bullshitting until he comes back, or until we run out of time. Either way, we're gonna do what we're gonna do. Um, I'd like to thank any of the new folks, especially the ones who'll be listening to this after, who've subscribed to the channel. We really appreciate your time and because our shows aren't small.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it
again,
gets rough sometimes trying to put the 2 hours.
well, no,
But I will hit it up
this
with.
is
Yeah, I
what I
will
was
hit it up
talking.
with.
No, this is what I was talking about earlier. Man, with 4 people, it's easy to fill 2 hours. With three, it gets a little harder. At two, oh boy. After that, you might as well just hang it up and just try again next week. That's all you can really do for that. Um, oh my goodness. Boy, that BSD sucks, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I hate the BSD, man. I mean, I appreciate Microsoft's reasonings behind the thing, but
Hmm.
if you see that fucking computer, if you see that screen, you know there's something seriously wrong.
Yeah, true.
Okay, and it's usually a software issue, which is super easy, or excuse me, super hard to come by. Unless you fix it up, finish it out quickly. But
Yeah.
here's the thing: is that I've been telling people this shit for years. Nobody wants to hear it, but I'm gonna tell you again. Windows is flaky, at best, flaky. And what'll happen is because the different kinds of software that each person who installs on their personal computer will make Windows act even more flaky. But it won't actually react the same way for this dude as it does for you. It doesn't work that way. It's going to be flaky, but because you have X things installed on your computer and he has Y things sold on his computer or installed, so don't expect that we know what you're fucking dealing with unless basically that's how
Yeah.
that works. Uh, oh my goodness. Let's see. Shit. Yeah, New Wave's still with us. All right, we're got 7 minutes out. We're hoping he can get his BSD dealt with before then. Um, New Wave. We need to. I'm just gonna let me stay after the show, and I'll be able to see what you say in chat, or you can switch over to the chat in Facebook. Doesn't bother me either way. But what I need to talk to you about getting the ads and stuff up, and it's not your fault. We're just gonna, if you don't mind, since we've routed you as our new producer, we need to try and get the ads and the tweets out
Yeah,
because
just powwow, chill out. Yeah.
yeah, know that, but I know she didn't want to talk on voicecom.
Yeah, I know.
So we're just gonna do it via text.
No
There's
problem.
Scott. Hi, Scott. Um, well, Scott,
What's up, Scott?
we're having a BSD issue. It's not mine,
Blue
for
screen
fucking
of
sakes.
death.
I know, right?
I haven't had one of those in a while, but then again, I haven't found a way to break windows in a while.
No, I haven't. I've
It's
tried.
hard now. It's
No, I
hard.
seriously have tried.
I've done it.
Holy
Thanks,
crap!
sweetheart. You
Holy
want to say
crap,
goodbye to
children!
everybody on the internet?
I'm finally
Go
back.
Say
ahead.
goodnight to the internet.
Goodbye.
Good night.
All right, I'm finally back.
Oh!
Took a
Okay.
while.
New Wave. The reason I asked you to do this either on the here or on the chat for the our or excuse me, my personal DM over at Facebook is because I can talk easier than I can type. I have some neurological issues that make it very difficult for me to type. So we're gonna just talk with you after so. Anywho, we're coming up on the last 5 minutes. We're gonna just talk about shit random. And yes, that was super fucking loud, by the way, Eric.
What?
That was super fucking loud.
It was her.
I know
She
that.
was.
I know it's not. You didn't. I'm pretty sure you
Wow.
can't
Yeah,
make
she's
that
got a
noise.
voice on her, man. Olivia's got a heavy voice, man.
She does, man. I thought she was gonna
Hear
blow
her
my head
sing,
off
man.
my shoulders,
She
and
can
I'm
project
not
on
even wearing
stage.
headphones. Holy crap! And
I'm gonna get
Scott
worried when
finally
she.
joined us at the end of the show, so I'm glad you finally caught up. It's an interesting. Honestly, as far as clans go, or technically, is it a clan or a bloodline?
It's a bloodline, but
Um,
the way Ian's laid it
Ian,
out is great. Dude, I mean, even just bouncing around in the book, I'm already
no,
crazy
but I'm
interested.
talking about Ian. Is he still here with us? Or
Yeah, I'm
No.
right here, buddy. I've
Oh,
been
there he
chatting.
is. Okay.
well, this is why I asked you if you was a straight up clan or bloodline.
Yeah, it's a bloodline.
Okay. You know, oddly enough, I think we should discuss at least for the last couple of minutes the difference between a clan and a bloodline.
And
Clans.
whether or not it has an antediluvian founder, it's pretty simple.
So the Mighty Boosh isn't technically an antediluvian?
Who?
Zirnabuch, whatever.
Zirnabach is not a
Zir-
vampire. He's a true fae.
True Fae.
Yeah.
Even I thought he. No, that's right. No, never mind.
You mean Marconius? Marconius was the
Marconius.
first.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, Marconius is fifth generation. He was
Fifth.
embraced by, yeah, he was embraced by two fourth generation Lasombra, and
Mixtured
given
with the blood of
and given the blood of
Zirnabuk.
Zirnabach at the same time. He was
Yeah.
given Lasombra blood. Yeah.
Which is a really strange way to do a turning. But those motherfuckers had no idea what they were dicking with.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of ways that you can do that, but it's not a there's no mechanics for it. There's no mechanics that says, by the way, if you add one drop of underworld god blood, you get a new discipline and it changes your clan weakness. They just said that happened, and that's kind of cool, but it's also brings up a really huge question, which I think could be an entire episode, is how do you create a new bloodline in the first place? How do you get and lose, for example, how do you gain and lose clan weaknesses? How do you create your own discipline? Like, these things are never actually addressed in a mechanics
No,
or
you're
a
right about
canonical
that.
way. We just know that on some occasions, some of these vampires don't come out right.
Well, they
You
come
try,
out with a different set of skill set.
yeah, they
Yeah.
somehow come out different
Yeah.
than their parent, unlike every other vampire, which is a serial dilution of Cain's blood, or these founders, antediluvian founders' blood. And I think that's kind of really your question, is that what's the difference between a bloodline and a clan is functionally there's nothing. There's no real difference between them. It's just a semantic difference of, like, can you trace it back to a third generation antediluvian or not? And some of them, like the Kiasyd, you can't.
No.
I think the Kiasyd is really the only one, my opinion, that has a legitimate reason why it might be different. Like any other bloodline I can think of, like even to just pick on the one that I hate the most, which is the true Bruja, there's no explanation for like how the true Bruja evolved into the Bruja that we have today. How do you lose a clan discipline? How do you gain another one? How do you have your clan weakness change? Like, these things are just not addressed. And the assumption is that somewhere you have sort of like genetic drift kind of thing. You just have mutations,
Yeah.
and one day a true Bruja just gives birth to some not true Bruja.
All right.
And
So we're right at
1 minute over, and Olivia and Molly fell down the stairs. So,
huh?
Olivia and Molly fell down the stairs.
What? Are they okay?
My girlfriend and her daughter accidentally fell down the stairs.
Are they okay?
Oh yeah, they're great. They're okay right now. But
Okay. Thank you. So new wave. No, excuse me. Never mind, never mind. I just finally caught up with the reading. All right, so I want to thank all our, excuse me. Are you multiples, Ian, or are you a singular?
I am a singular.
Okay, so we're gonna welcome. We're gonna thank our guest for being here tonight with his talking about his clan book for the Kiasyd, and from what little I've read, man, it is really awesome. So I think you need to go. I'm gonna give this brother a chance to plug, again, and I want you guys to. It's a good read. From what I've read so far, it is a really good read, and I'm really truly pleased that we were able to get one of the authors on the show. So
Yeah, thanks, man. The only author, by the way. I wrote the whole thing by myself. It was quite a task, actually.
I'm sorry, I
No,
misunderstood.
no
Very
problem at all, man. Most of these things are written by multiple people. My next one is written with a team. Definitely, I probably never write a clan book or a book like this again by myself. It's just so much work. But anyway, like you said, we'll wrap it up. I was great being here. Again, I'm Ian C. H. Hogan, the author of Clan Book Kiasyd, which you can find on Drive Through RPG or the Storyteller's Vault online. Right now, it's priced at I think very fair $7.99, but I'm actually gonna do a sale. So if you go there, starting tomorrow, I'll probably do it tonight. I'm gonna put it on sale to celebrate this interview. So thank you so much, guys.
Dude, thank you.
Yeah,
Because
thank
you
you,
actually
dude.
are the only guest I think that filled an entire hour singularly.
Yeah,
There you
no, it
go.
isn't. No, it isn't the only one. But I
Who
did
else?
mention it earlier that it was like really difficult to fill two
Not for
hours
me,
with three
dude.
people.
I'm a talker. You'll notice if you go back and listen, I was probably talking the fucking
Oh,
old
do
time.
it.
Dude,
She's looking
I'm a
forward to
rambler.
it, man.
lots
Holy
on.
shit.
Right. Well, thanks. And again, I just one last thing. If anyone is interested in any art to resemble the cover, which I think was amazing, it was done by Mark Kelly, which is Grim Ventures, Grim_Ventures on Instagram. Contact him for any of your artistic needs. He's really amazing and really easy to work with.
Well, there you go, guys. Holy shit, man. We've gotten way more cool shit out of this interview than I expected.
Okay.
With all these really, and
You have to get on Instagram. You're gonna have TT is gonna be on
fucking
Instagram now.
Instagram. Fucking Instagram.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. I'm coming out with a new book in about 2 months, Vampire: The Wild West, and I hope you have an Instagram to promote the show
Yeah,
when I.
no show. You'll be on for that show.
There you go.
You'll be on for that show. I gotta have it, dude, because it's the one period of history that I think vampires would have a much harder time dealing
Very
with
hard time. Very hard time.
because
We'll talk about this more next time because
yeah,
that's the topic. But I'll tell you
yeah.
what, buddy. I've got an open seat in a Vampire: The Wild West game that I'm running, and if you want to play, just let me know.
Hook a brother up.
Word.
He can put you and you might actually be able to give us live some insight. Not you, Ian, the person whomever wins this. You know, let them know that shit. Since we're gonna do a show, we might even pull him in as a second guest, just because that's the kind of shit I do. I love putting people on the spot.
Okay. Well, I think Eric's got to go. I got to go get some dinner here. It's 8 o'clock.
Yeah, go eat,
But
dude. All
I
right,
really
guys.
appreciate it. It's been a great show. Thanks, guys.
All
Good
right, Ian,
night.
take it easy, man.
Peace out.
All right, I'm waiting for the last of the. All right, so oh shit. Oh damn, they